Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I am Jack, that you're with me today. Hey, so today I get to talk to two of my dear friends, Cathy Fyock and Lois Kramer, author of the fantastic book, The Speaker Author, Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. I've known Lois probably, 10 or 15 years, and I've known Cathy 5 or 10, and I'm excited that they're here with me today. We have so much to talk about with this fantastic book. What I love about this book, ladies, is that it is short in each chapter. Like every chapter I can pick up and I can actually make it happen. But what I want to ask you is, first of all, how the heck did you write a book together? How does that work? So Lois, I'm going to talk to you first here, because Cathy's the writer and you're the speaker. So that means that I'm going to hold the mic while you talk, and then we'll pass it to Cathy.
Well, I'll tell you, I got to know Cathy purely by, we happened to sit together at an NSA, and we both like to sit with people we don't know, so we get to meet some new people. And the joy for me was sitting next to Cathy Fyock, and she had written a book called Blog to Book. And I had wanted to write a book, but wanting didn't get it to the market. And after talking to Cathy, she gave me a copy of her book. I came home, I read it right afterwards. And I called her and I said, Cathy, I want you to help me. I want you to help me get this book done. And I want you to help me do everything. I want to write it from my blog, but I want you to find the right publisher, the graphic people, the editors. And the biggest thing is I want you to keep me on task to get it done. And it was, I just enjoyed her so much. And Cathy then approached me. Cathy, you want to take it from there?
Sure. So I was thinking about my next book, and I thought, oh my gosh, would Lois Kramer be the perfect co-author for this book about selling and getting more speaking business? So I called her and I said, Lois, I have an idea for you and your next book. She goes, no. She said, no, I'm not writing another book. I said, well, what if I mainly did the first draft and then you added your thoughts and comments and then we had a book together? And she said, score.
That's fun.
Well, I think the process would be a great one because Cathy was going to be in charge of it. And having worked with her before, I like her personally, professionally, in every way. And this, I am blessed that she invited me in on this project because I think it is a great book. We've gotten wonderful feedback on it, which we are thrilled about. But I'll tell you, Cathy is the book maven. I recommend her to everyone. And she has writing retreats now, as well as private clients. She does all kinds of things, and she's very gifted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that before back in the green room, that you had a virtual retreat. You said, how many people on, Cathy? You said 80 people on a virtual writing retreat. Huh?
Yes, I had 80 people, and we kept it really interactive. It was a webinar format, but we kept it highly interactive. I had a producer, and it was really fabulous.
Wow. So, go ahead.
I've sent clients there, and they get back to me thanking me for the recommendation. So thanks for making me.
Good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's so important, right? To have people that we recommend, that we can trust, that are going to take care of folks. And I think one of the ways that folks can do that is that they can prove their credibility with writing a book, right? I mean, that's one of the best ways. I think people, they miss that. It's a lot of speakers, they almost cringe when people say, oh, you should write a book. It's like, whoa, like kind of like you did, Lois. But Cathy, talk to me about some of the benefits of actually getting that book written.
Well, there are the obvious benefits, like you can use it as a calling card. You can have it as part of your training curriculum. If you're coaching clients, it's part of your coaching curriculum. I mean, there are all of those benefits. But even beyond that, I think you become a better speaker when you have written your book and you have been curating your content and getting clarity on your topic and deeper understanding of your topic by having written about it. So I think all of those things are benefits of writing the book.
Cool. Awesome, awesome. So Lois, you coach a ton of speakers, and I know that's a lot of your business. So tell me about some of the ways that speakers, right, that you've worked with. Give me some of the specific ways that some of the speakers you've worked with that have been surprised after they've written the book. Because I know a lot of them think, oh, it's just selling, or I just got to get on stage. But once then they work with Cathy, or they get this book, and they're like, oh wow, I didn't even expect that would happen. Do you have any surprises?
Well, I'll tell you what, ditto to everything that Cathy said. I think that, Phil, I think one of the challenges for speakers when they're looking for business, for their speaking business in every way, is to get people to allow people to get to know you. And writing certainly is a way to allow people to view your intellectual property. And I'm a big believer in blog posts, using anything you can to put your intellectual property out in the marketplace. A book is just a primo way of doing it. And a book also, I think, not only raises credibility, but it can raise your bottom line. And that's been the experience of my clients. It's certainly been my experience after writing my first book with Cathy's help, and this book as well. And I think it allows you another revenue stream, obviously, but it also is a great service to your clients. When somebody hires you, Phil, to come in and do a program for 60 or 90 minutes, there's a lot more information that you have to offer. A book allows you to share that information with your audience, so they can go away knowing a little bit and then learning a lot from a book. So I am a big believer in books. And, there's this little thing called gravitas, and books certainly help in that way. But writing books has never been, I think, more meaningful, and can absolutely give you a competitive edge in the marketplace.
Yeah, definitely. I know that I've found that with the books that I've written as well. It definitely sets you up as the expert. And the key is not just to write a book, but to produce a good book, right? Something, because I can tell you that a crappy book can definitely hold you back. So, Cathy, what makes a crappy book, and how do we get past the crap and into a good book? Because I know you've probably coached some folks that you probably won't talk about that have written some crappy books. So how do we stand out and not write a crappy book?
Well, I think one way is that I always tell my clients, when they hire me, one of the things I promise you is I will not allow you to publish a crappy book. So that's one of the benefits of working with a book coach. But some of the things are little things, in that you want your book to serve you. You want your book to be a foundational piece for your business. So to be starting it with the end in mind, be starting your writing process by thinking about how you plan to integrate the book into your training programs, speaking programs, even how you sell yourself. So starting with the end in mind is perhaps one of the important elements there. But also just making sure that you're going through the right editorial process. I have a unique process where first you get your book as clean and as good as you possibly can on your own. And then you work with an editorial board, and I tell you how to orchestrate an editorial board so that you're getting feedback from potential clients and readers. And then you go to an actual professional editor, and then you get your book published, so that there is a multi-step process in this quality control.
So I'm not just writing a book. I'm kind of disappointed here, Cathy. I was expecting this going to be really easy. I just write 10 articles and I've got, that's not it, huh?
No.
Crap.
Although that's a good start. It's a great start, but it's not the whole thing. Yeah. And it's making sure, like when Lois put her book together, there were some posts that were a little too similar to one another. It was created some redundancy, or some weren't perhaps evergreen, or perhaps we needed to have that connecting thread that pulled them all together. So a number of different elements that we work on when we're working together with authors.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Lois. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that one of the things I always say about people who hire me, Phil, is speakers hire me because they have a very myopic view of their own business. We're so close to it, we can't see it clearly or objectively, like people from the outside can. That's what Cathy brought to my process. She was able to look at it with new eyes, whereas I'm looking at material that I live, breathe, and talk about all the time. And things that were obvious to me were not obvious to her. And things that were repetitive, I thought, or I didn't think were repetitive, were very repetitive to her. And so this is why it is incredibly important, if you're looking to put out something and put your name on it, that it be a great project. And I think that one of the things that Cathy's done in Speaker Author, she's laid out the process that she uses and we have used, and it's very successful.
Yeah, I really like that about the book. The process that flows through this is really clean, right? It definitely is there. And I joke about writing 10 articles and thinking I'm done. I hope nobody thinks that, right? Because writing really is a team sport. There's a lot more than that, than just writing, right? There's an editor. There might be someone who, graphics. Even if you go with a traditional publisher, they have a team that helps you with that. So let's talk a little bit about selling the book, though, because I like that you mentioned the strategy behind it, Cathy, which I think is really fun. If folks can't write at all, I mean, they should probably hire a ghostwriter or somebody to help them. But let's assume that you can. You wrote the book, right? So now we want to sell the book because that's important. They're not best written; they're best sellers. So what are some of the good strategies that you've got, Cathy, for selling a book? And then Lois, I'd love to hear some of the ones that you've used for your business.
So part of it is just being really intentional that you are going to have your book out there and be talking about it and presenting it everywhere. So that, for example, it's on author of a forthcoming book or author of the book is on your email signature, is on all of your print materials, is all on all of your collateral, so that your book and also your book title should probably be the same as when you're doing presentations for a conference or a group, should be the same title so that there's that tie-in and people see, oh, I see. If I wanted a deeper dive, I could buy the book, so that it's not left as something vague or unspoken. So I think there are lots of different things that authors can do.
Yeah, you talk, one of the things that you talk about, and then I'm going to go to you, Lois, is a response card, which Amy Wenninger had in the book. And I thought that was really cool. So talk to us a little bit about that author response card, because I've not seen them used as effectively as Amy talks about in the book. What do you think belongs on there?
Well, what I have on mine, I'm trying to think if I don't have one. Well, I thought I had one right here, but I don't. But basically, a response card is something that will allow your folks who have heard you speak to say, wow, I want to get more information. I want to be on your list. I want to receive your freebie. I want to see more of you. I want to hear more of you. So it's a great way of capturing that, because what I'm learning is not every audience will have business cards. And many of them may or may not be comfortable with doing some kind of electronic response. So having response cards is great when you're speaking for a group and you want to get a good response rate and be able to connect with those folks individually.
Awesome. Thank you, Cathy. So Lois, I know that you've done a lot to help promote your book. What have you done most successfully when it comes to selling your book?
I think that one of the most successful strategies and tactics that I talk to my clients about is selling your book along with a speech, and either packaging the two together, or selling your speech and inviting the person who made the decision to hire you to buy a copy for everybody in the audience. And I remember that NSA had a winter meeting in Las Vegas, the Tropicana, the home of shag carpeting. And and in that, I did a breakout there, and in that breakout was the first time I used my phrase that pays, along with book sales, such as saying to the person who hired you, do you think it would make sense for everyone to be able to walk away from our meeting with the companion book in my program? Because if you would think that that makes sense, we can make that happen at a good discount for you. And I got an email from one of our friends at NSA saying, I sent a copy to an association committee who was thinking about hiring, and said, I passed your book around. Everybody loved the book. And so she said to him, well, if the committee loved the book, do you think it would make sense for everybody to have one? And without reservation, he said, absolutely. Absolutely. And she sold 2,000 books that day. That's Buddy the intern howling because our book is so hot an ambulance is going by my house. That's how hot this book is. But she sold a lot of books, and she emailed me and said, I want you to know my experience. Sadly, I didn't ask for a percentage of that, but this works. And, I learn what works and what doesn't work from the market intelligence that my clients bring me. And Cathy just mentioned something I think incredibly important. I love the idea of having a book title the same as your most popular program, because then you can use the companion book verbiage when selling. But even if you don't have a book with the same title as your speech, it allows you to say, do you think your audience, would it make sense for your audience to be able to walk away with more information than I'll have time to give them today? And so I am really big into selling cartons of books instead of just a book at a time. I think selling a book at a time in the back of the room is great. I'd like that to be a fallback. But a book can really enhance your bottom line. And I'll tell you, when I first wrote Book More Business, Make Money Speaking with Cathy, I thought this was going to be the nichest book, and it is a niche book. And I thought it's just going to have a very small audience, but my people will like it, I think. And I have been amazed at how well it's done. So you never know. But I'll tell you, it has been an incredible profit center for my business. And it will be for anybody who can put a good book together and just use some of the simple sales strategies, saying, I want to share information with you.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, Lois. And I like what you said there about not selling one book at a time. I think folks miss that, right? I mean, one book at a time is the absolute wrong way and the worst way to sell a book. Nothing personal, right? I don't want to sell one to Cathy and one to Lois. I want to sell one to Cathy's audience and to Lois's audience. And I think that's the big difference here as we think about this, right? Our goal is to impact, right? I mean, that's why we write a book in many cases. That's why we give a speech. It's why we train. It's why we coach, right? We want to make an impact. What greater impact than 200 or 500 or 1,000 people reading the same book to get the same information so that they can have the same thing? So when we think about that, how do we do that? I mean, let's talk through some of that logistics. I mean, because I don't know, Cathy, do you have like just 50,000 books sitting in your backyard ready to be sent out at once, or how does that work?
No, not. I mean, it used to be you had to have a basement full, and my husband can attest to that fact. But now with print on demand, authors can get whatever quantity they need drop shipped to the audience that you want. So I love this story with one of my authors, Sarah Peticha. She's an NSA member. West Point Woman is her book. She was approaching a CEO, and he said, "Oh, I love your book. Love your book. I'd love to have one for everybody in the audience." She said, "Well, would it make sense if we were to have a special edition of the book where you would write the foreword of the book?" And we indicated that on the front cover, and then had your company's logo on the back. So because she was self-publishing, she was working through a hybrid publisher, she was able to get a special foreword, a special cover, the special logo. She sold the book at a nice discount, but she still made, I'm going to say, roughly $10 a book, and she sold 1,700 books with this one sale. So that's the power of this strategy.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so true. And when we think about that, everybody wants a book for them, for their audience, not that they want your book, but they want a book for them. And I think that's a great opportunity there for us to consider the self-publishing angle. And that's really changed things. I mean, I can tell you, gosh, 20 years ago when I started speaking, right, the vanity press, those books look horrible. You'd never know now which is, I mean, unless you totally do it yourself and you run down to Kinko's and print it there.
We don't recommend.
Yeah, not recommending. Okay, there. You just keep killing all the ideas for my next book, Cathy. I'm sorry, this is disappointing. I'm gonna have to actually write it. That's okay, right? That's so funny. So, yeah, so lots of good stuff there. So Lois, one of the parts of the book that I love that you talk about is the idea of aftercare. How can we use our book as part of an aftercare if they don't buy it on the front end? And what else can we do with aftercare? Because I think of all your ideas that I've read, and I've read all of them, Lois, you know that. I've read every article you've written on your blog, and I've probably heard you speak 10 or 15 times. Tell me about aftercare and how that matters. Well, it's true. So talk to me.
I appreciate you, and I'm very flattered. Aftercare is something that I think is a very strategic part of your business, and it needs to be a strategic part of your business. I've been doing what I do, working with speakers to grow businesses for over 20 years now. And I know that a good relationship is what drives business. And keeping people continually in touch with you as a speaker is what creates a great relationship, as well as having a client think of you more of a resource than just a speaker. And aftercare is important. Aftercare, I define as what do you do with a client after you have presented your speech and everybody goes home. And I am almost embarrassed to tell you that I fell into this after I used to do some programs for corporate sales teams. And I was doing my follow-up thank you call, I call it, with the person who hired me, saying, just thanks for bringing me in. I wanted to make sure the feedback that you heard was as positive as what I heard. That call. And I just found myself saying one time, and, I wish I could say this was all a plan. It wasn't. I found myself saying, listen, do you think it would make sense for me to work with your sales managers to actually implement the strategies, ideas, and techniques that I talked about today on your platform? Because if that does make sense, we can do that. You don't need to fly me in to do that. And now we know virtually, back when I was doing it, I was using Google Groups. And now we have many ways we can engage. But aftercare is, how can I reinforce my message and be more helpful to my client in other ways other than speaking, through consulting, through selling a book, going through a book. The speaker author, our book, has different sections. You can pick a section at a time. But aftercare can be almost any way that you can use your intellectual property to enhance your client's understanding of what you're talking about. And aftercare should be part of everybody's business plan, because I'll tell you, it is an incredible revenue stream. And I found myself, when I was doing my sales speaking, that many times I made more on the back than I did for the actual speech. And that's when I thought, wow, this could be a good idea. And my clients who have taken me up on this will tell you it is a good idea.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think, in sales parlance, right, that's the whole cross-sell idea, right? You get in there, you land and expand, you offer more, you give them a taste, even though they pay for the taste, and then you expand that out. And I think it just makes so much sense. And yet it's often not done because either we get too busy or we're busy prospecting for new business, but it's an opportunity to go deeper in a relationship and to really make an even greater impact, which is really, if I were to sum up your book, ladies, that it would be make an even greater impact with the customers you already have and that you want to have. Because that's really what it's about, right? If I want to be a speaker and an author, you combine them together. It's not speaker or author, it's both. And I think that is where your book comes in to play and is super helpful. So congratulations.
Our subtitle says it all: sell more books and book more speeches. It's all about leveraging one to the other. And I think that's why this book has been successful. Some of the things that might seem obvious, we found people just weren't doing. We just weren't asking for people to think about it. We weren't asking for the sale. We weren't asking for how can I help you as we go beyond, as we leave the speech today. And now when we're more purposeful in asking, we're finding out that we're creating more revenue streams into our business. And I can tell you right now, the people who are doing, I wouldn't say who are most successful, the people who are really doing well in their speaking businesses are ones who have a number of revenue streams. And speaking is only one of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Could not agree more. Could not agree more. So as we kind of wrap up here, Cathy, give us one great tip to get started down the path of being a speaker author. And then Lois, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay. I think I would say that, one tip. I'll go to Lois first.
You're on the spot, Lois. What's your one tip?
That's okay. I think that the first tip is be clear about what your expertise is. Be clear about what your expertise is and who it can help the most. I think the more you can really creatively target who your audience is and what your message is, the easier it is to get into what should this book be about? What aspects of my expertise does my book need to portray? And also thinking, as Cathy said a little bit earlier, with the end in mind, what do I overall want this book to do? Do I want it to be a resource? Do I want it to be continuing education? Do I want it to be a constant reminder of my message? I think it can be all of those things.
Awesome. I love that. Be clear on your expertise, be clear on your audiences so you can make the biggest impact. That's beautiful. So Cathy, you've had a second to think after I put you on the spot. What's your one tip?
My one tip is sort of to piggyback on what Lois said, is to start with the end in mind. So as you're writing the book, you need to be thinking about how you're going to be utilizing the book in your speaking practice, in your consulting, coaching, whatever, and start with that. And be sure that you are letting your reader know about all the things that you do, so that you're about the author, talks about you as a speaker, your examples that you use throughout the book are client examples, or when I spoke for this group, so that you are sprinkling the book with lots and lots of clues about how you might engage and work with that reader.
Awesome. Love that. Fantastic. Well, friends, if we want to get in touch with you, I'm going to put links to your websites in the comments, but I'd like you to tell me, where is your favorite social network? If people have questions, they want to connect with you beyond just your website, which I'll share there, bookmorebusiness.com for Lois and cathyfyock.com for Cathy. But where would your favorite social network be to connect? Lois, I'm going to start with you.
Unlike what I tell for my clients, Phil, who I tell LinkedIn should be, for me, it's been Facebook. It's been Facebook and Twitter, interestingly. But Facebook, I'm very visible on Facebook. I invite anybody to get a hold of me if I can help you in any way with any questions you might have, and join me on Facebook. Awesome. And what about you, Cathy?
And I have to say, even though I tell my clients go to LinkedIn, I find I get most of my business from my relationships that I have on Facebook. So I love Facebook.
Awesome. So everyone, follow them, get to know Lois and Cathy more. Their book is The Speaker Author, Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. It's fantastic. It's really action-packed. Every chapter, easy to read, and something you can actually do to make more impact. As the book says, if you want to sell more books and book more speeches, just be a more speaker, author, expert, this is the book for you. Ladies, thank you so much for your time today. It was great to spend it with you. I appreciate you both.
Thanks, Bill.
My pleasure. Thank you.